So I'm outside today because I really want to take advantage of this weather. It's beautiful today. My patio is a little bit cluttered, but I went ahead and cleaned off this table so that I can have a nice workspace out here. So I'm going to be getting my potatoes ready. They're sprouting nicely, and I'm going to start splitting them and then just letting them scab over so that I can have, more than one plant from each potato. And I'm going to be growing 4 varieties of potato this year. I have this Christina Red. I've got a Burbank Russet. I've got Yukon Gold, and I've also got Gold Rush. So I'm going to be getting all these potatoes split today, and then soon it'll be time for them to go in the ground. Okay, so starting with the Christinas, which are the red variety I'm growing, basically when you cut these, you just want to be sure that there are little sprouts on every piece that you cut. So this one, for instance, can get cut here-ish so that this one has a part and then these ones have a part. This one can just get cut right in half. You just want to be sure that they all have some starts on them. That's the main concern. So I'm going to go ahead and get to it. Once I take these inside, I'm going to spread them out a bit more so that they can dry out. All these cut edges are going to scab over, and then that'll take probably, a week or so, maybe a little less. And then once they're all scabbed over, they're technically ready to plant. I'm going to wait a little longer than that in my grow zone, but I want these to have plenty of time to scab over and be really healthy. And some of them have very small little starts, so I'm hoping those sprouts are going to get quite a bit bigger before it's time for them to go in the ground. So they're going to get spread out in a nice cool dry spot, and we'll see how they do. Okay, so I am going to start the seeds for my seed trials. So again, I have 2 cherry tomato and 2 slicer tomato varieties. So the first thing I'm going to do is open each of these and count how many seeds I have from each one. Okay, so this is the Cinnamon Girl, and there are 23. So I'm just gonna mark that on the little envelope so that I know how many I'm starting with. I'm also gonna put today's date on here. And that way I know when I started these seeds. So I'm gonna put 3 to 5 seeds in each one, and I have to be very precise. So actually we're going to go with 5. There's going to be 5 in each one of these. And the reason I have to be so precise is because one of the things we're checking on is germination rate. So I have to know how many seeds, you know, would germinate on a more exact basis. And I mean, if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know I'm normally not this precise. I'm a little bit more of a chaos gardener. But for this particular project, I need to be a lot more exact. So I've got 15 planted out of 23. So we're going to see A, how long it takes them to germinate, and B, how many of those 15 seeds end up germinating. Now, I'm going to do the exact same thing for the Nightingale cherry tomato because these two are being compared. So we're seeing which ones, you know, have a higher performance level based on all the metrics that we're measuring for. That being said, I definitely don't have the same number of seeds. So I only have 13 seeds, so all of these are going to get planted, and so they'll be actually we'll do 4 seeds per container, so we'll do 12. And like I said, one of the things we're measuring for is when they germinate and also germination rate. Once they are growing, we're also looking for how disease resistant they are, how much they actually set fruit, whether or not they're pest resistant, and how good their flavor is. Okay, so these are going to get watered in after the fact, but those are the cherry tomatoes. So now we're going to do the same thing with the slicer tomatoes, and then I'll show you everything at the end. I guess you can't really see what I'm doing. Actually, okay, so these are the pots that have all the cherry tomatoes, and these are the pots that I'm putting my slicers in. So my first variety is a cowboy slicer. So same thing, I'm just going to start off by counting how many seeds I have total. Okay, so there's 18 total. So I'm going to be planting 15. I'll do 5 in each pot again. Okay. Okay, and then One Trick Pony is my last variety for tomatoes. Two, 4, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Okay, so 18 of this one as well. So again, we'll just be planting 15. So we'll do 5 each. I don't know if you just saw that mosquito, but seriously, they're the size of birds here. And then again, just keeping record that I started these on this date, how many seeds I was given, how many seeds I started, and how many per pot, just so that I can track germination rate. Okay, so that's it for the tomatoes. I'm just going to go ahead and get these shoved in and covered up now. They also all have the exact same mix of soil. So it is some basically gardening soil, potting soil, and then there's some compost mixed in, and also some worm castings. So all of these have all the same soil. Hopefully that will give us a better comparison. You want to give them all the same growing conditions, if at all possible. So that's the tomatoes. Okay, so now I have the other things that I am getting started. So I'm actually going to start some of these in pots, and then some of them I'm going to wait and direct sow so that I can compare starting them early versus direct sowing. So I've got a bok choy cross, I've got a Tulsi basil, I've got a Tokyo Bacana, which they're turning from green to purple. They're breeding for the purple. And then I also have ashwagandha. So same thing, I'm going to go ahead and count how many seeds I have. Okay, so that's 45 already. And that's the ones that I'm going to direct sow. And then I'm also going to put some in these pots. Okay, so there's roughly 10 in there. And then I have all of these left. So okay, so there's roughly 80 that are getting direct sown. And these are not getting direct sewn yet, so I'll put another direct sew date on these once I direct sew them. Next is the Tulsi Basil. I'm really probably not going to count all these because there's a million. So that's roughly 10. And roughly 10. These will all get direct sewn later on. And then we have the Tokyo Bacana. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's basically a green, although they're turning it purple, but it's like a leafy green. It's pretty similar to like a bok choy. Okay. And then ashwagandha is the last one. I am going to do more pots of ashwagandha. There's also less ashwagandha seeds and they're a little easier to deal with. They look like this. I should have been showing you all these seeds. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so there's roughly 10 seeds in each pot. I have this many left for direct sowing. Okay, and then these are all really small seeds. They don't need to be buried very deeply, so I'm kind of just going to ruffle up the soil around them a little bit so that they are all covered. Okay, and the last thing I need to do is go ahead and mark on these pots what all of these are. I normally don't label pots like this, but it's no big deal for this. That way I don't get them mixed up at all. And I'll just reuse these pots even with the labels because I won't pay attention to the labels anyway. Okay, so the last thing I need to do is just water everything in, and then we'll be good to go on everything except for some of these things I'm waiting for May to direct sow, so the direct sowing will happen later, but we've got all of the stuff in pots ready to go. These are calendula seeds. I like to call them calendula curls. They sent me 45, so I'm just going to plant them in this section of the bed, and then I'll be watching for them to pop up, and then I'll count how many out of the 45 germinate. And then I think we're just, A, we're taking pictures, but B, we're also counting to see germination rate and also how many blooms you get throughout the season. They're cut and come again flower, and they're great for skincare and a few other things, so it'll be nice to be able to cut them and see how they do and be able to use them. Also, they readily reseed themselves, so this is now my calendula bed. My tulips are emerging. Look at that one. Looks like it's gonna bloom in a minute, and it doesn't even have a stem yet. Pretty excited to see what all these look like.